Hey guys, so today we are going to be working on landscapes and space basics. This is activity 3.2, and what we're going to be doing is using different reference photos for our drawing. Okay, I'm going to put my name up here. You guys write your name. I'll just write demo like I always do with a smiley. You can see here an example of how to break up your space. It doesn't matter what kind of landscape you want to draw, but you're going to be using reference photos, and you want to use the rule of thirds, okay, to kind of help break up your space. Now, we've kind of talked about the rule of thirds before, what that means, and it's just basically like a tic-tac-toe board, and you want to kind of push your horizon line either high or low. You don't want to put it in the middle. Same thing with objects. Generally, you want to kind of push them off to a side instead of having them dead center. So when you look at this example up here, here's your foreground, which is the area closest to us in the image. And you'll notice my flowers, if I draw a vertical third, are sitting right on those lines where they cross, okay? They are larger and they're sitting lower in the composition to communicate that they are in the foreground, the area that's closest to us, okay? If you look at the upper part of this picture, I can put a line here between my middle ground and my background, which are these two. And you'll notice the house is almost right where the lines cross. The other thing you'll notice is my horizon line is up there in the upper third of the picture. The sky and the land meet up there at the horizon line. Okay, so that's really what that is. What you guys are going to do for this activity is you're going to go ahead and try to find some images that you want to incorporate, and you're going to use more than one to kind of inspire your landscape. Now, when it comes to space, a couple things to remember is, like I said, objects closer are going to appear larger. Okay, they also appear lower in your composition. Objects further away are going to appear higher, like this house is higher than the flowers here, but it's also smaller in size. These trees look teeny tiny. In actuality, are much, much bigger than these flowers, but because they're so high up in my composition, and they're also furthest back right on my horizon line off in the distance, they are very small. That's what you would call atmospheric perspective, or just perspective in general, meaning that objects closer are bigger, and as they get further away, they get smaller. So what you're going to do for this activity here is you're going to pull open like Google or something. All right, I'm going to move this over into my screen here so you guys can see. And I would look up landscape photography. Okay, and you're going to hop over to your images, and I want you to just kind of start thinking about what you want to draw. Okay, so I'm going to look for something pretty straightforward here just for time's sake. These road ones are so cool, but as a drawing, they kind of are lacking a little bit. It's like, oh gosh, almost a third of the picture is just black concrete. Okay, not very exciting. So you might want to look for something a little bit more interesting. This one's kind of cool. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, and I'm also going to bring up my paper for you guys so you guys can see. Let's see if I can get these both on the screen for you here. And what you'll notice is that I'm going to go ahead and use this photograph on my right here to kind of inspire me. And I'm going to kind of pick and choose, well, where do I want my space to be? Okay, we're going to use more than one photo, so you can kind of pick and choose what you like out of these. And you don't have to, the nice thing about landscapes is they don't have to be exact. So you can see I'm kind of gonna start drawing here. I'm looking at the hills off in the distance. I've got another set of hills over here, and you can see how quickly I'm kind of sketching this. There's like trees here, and then there's definitely like some trees a little bit closer on this hill. All right, do you guys see how fast I'm going here? This is good, okay, because you don't want to get too tight with things. You're just really looking at like the overall space and what's happening in that space. I see like a hill here, and then I see a little structure, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and draw this in here quickly. I don't want to spend too much time. And you can see there's a few other things off in the distance here. And as they get further away, they get smaller. And, you know, we might even see some trees and things here. One thing that I feel is lacking about this composition right now is the fact that there's nothing right in the foreground that's kind of communicating that space. So it's kind of boring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and search for some things to kind of fill in the gaps. So the first thing I want to do is I think it'd be cool to have like a pine tree over here because there's pine trees in here. So I'm going to hop over to Google and I'm just going to type in pine tree photography. See what I get. Okay. And there's some cool ones here. I want something that's not extremely complicated for me to look at. This one will work. All right, see that pine tree there? I'm going to use that. So now I'm kind of piecing together, sorry guys, wrong screen, piecing together what it is that I want to do and what I want to include in here. So from this foreground line, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just put this pine tree right in here. Okay, and again, you can see I'm actually almost like kind of scribbling a little bit, right? So I'm kind of just getting the layers of the tree in here, and I'm making this thing as big as I can possibly kind of think through. Okay, so now you can see with space, this tree looks much closer than this house for two reasons. One, it's bigger in size, and two, the base of the tree is sitting lower than the base of the structure. Okay, so trees are tricky because you could say like, oh, well, Miss Ernie, it's higher than. Yes, it is, but the base of it is sitting lower, and so it's closer to. Okay, so there's my image so far. The last thing I think I want to do is kind of figure out my sky with a landscape. It's better to kind of think about it rather than not. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just type in sunset skies and let's see what I get. I'm going to do like a sunset sky. Ooh, some good ones here. Alrighty. I kind of like the clouds in this one, but it's a little on the dark side. I don't think I want to go that dark. This one's cool. I like this sky. Now, clouds can be scary for a few reasons. One, they're always changing shape. Two, how do you really describe that shape? The nice thing about it is number three, no one's really going to know exactly what the clouds look like in your picture. You get to decide, okay? So for me, I've got my trees, my pine trees and the hill here, and I really just kind of worked out my space and what I have going on. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of look at these clouds and just think about where they are in space and how I might describe them as part of a drawing. There's like some clouds off here in the distance, and I feel like the sun is kind of coming through. The rays of the sun are kind of coming through here. Okay, so what I've done, and if you guys can see here my drawing, I have, and I'm actually going to leave this part of the hill open. All right, and that kind of gives us the look that maybe this hill is sort of smoothed out here. It's like a way in. Okay, the other thing I can do is add some creative things, like maybe I want to add a little path. All right, the thing about paths that you got to know is that however far away it looks like you are, you got to communicate that by narrowing that path. Okay, so you can see here now it looks like the path is going off in the distance because I've made it narrower and narrower as I've gone further and further into my drawing, okay? So paths are a really nice way to kind of pull the eye in. But I looked at 3 photos, okay? A landscape, a sky, and then something else that I wanted to add. And for you, that's going to be something that you want to do is think about your drawing and how you would want to draw. This is how we're pulling resources to really just kind of gain an understanding about the space and how we want our drawing to look. We're not really making anything up. The only thing we're making up is where we put the puzzle pieces to the big picture, right? So for your activity, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to have Google up, and I want you looking at images to create your drawing. Okay, that's going to be the big thing. What I'm going to be looking for is a pencil drawing. You don't have to do any shading, but I want to see that you're kind of thinking about the rule of thirds. You can see my house is in the middle. It's not the end of the world, but my horizon line is definitely on 1/3. It could have been lower, but then I would have less land and more sky to have to illustrate, right? So think about that too. Like, what does your landscape really look like? How much room do you need? Try not to bisect your composition by putting your horizon line in the middle. Push it up or down depending on what it is that you're drawing, okay? So that is our activity 3.2, just trying to get understanding of landscapes and space.